Welcome to Headstones&Microphones Founder Stories, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most visionary founders. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these trailblazers. Now, let's meet our guest.
Oh, I am absolutely thrilled for today's show. Joining us today is none other than the legendary Queen of Cosmetics, the visionary who built a beauty empire from her kitchen table, Estée Lauder. Estée, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Calvin.
We are honoured to have you. Let's dive right in. When you first conceived of your business, the world was a very different place. What was the exact moment you realised society was moving in a direction only you could see? And how did you convince the early skeptics?
Well, Calvin, back then, the big established cosmetics giants were run with a certain distance, but I saw something entirely different. I realized that women didn't just want to buy a jar off a cold shelf. They wanted to be touched. They wanted to see results on their own skin, and they wanted to feel beautiful every single day. I knew that confidence breeds beauty. To convince the early skeptics, I didn't rely on massive ad budgets or corporate strategies. I went right into the beauty parlors. I would walk up to women sitting under the heavy hair dryers, apply my uncle's creams right onto their faces, and let the products speak for themselves. Once they saw their own radiant skin, the skepticism just melted away.
Talk about a hands-on approach. That brings us to the original leap of faith. Leaving behind safety to build something entirely unproven is a massive gamble. What did your life look like the day you decided to go all in? And what was the core belief that gave you the courage to take that first step?
Oh, it was a time of immense hustle, Calvin. In 1946, when my husband Joseph and I officially founded the company, we were working out of our kitchen, making the creams ourselves and polishing the jars. I worked every single day from 9 in the morning until 6 in the evening, and I rarely stopped for lunch. It wasn't glamour yet. It was pure, unadulterated work. What gave me the courage was a deeply rooted belief passed down from my mother, that any woman can be beautiful if she believes she is. My ambition was never just to make money. My target was to make every woman feel stunning and valued. I kept my eye on that single target and refused to look away.
That focus is legendary. In the absolute beginning, when you had no data, no capital, and no blueprint, what was the one truth you held onto that everyone else around you dismissed?
Everyone told me the cosmetics industry was too brutally competitive, unregulated, and completely dominated by untouchable names. But the one truth I held on to was that if you put a high-quality product directly into a customer's hands, it will sell itself. I trusted my instincts implicitly. Others thought you needed massive, expensive advertising campaigns to launch a brand. We didn't have that kind of capital, so I relied on the power of a personal touch and a beautiful presentation. I believed in the simple ecstasy of achievement through hard work, and I knew my formulas were exceptional.
And history proved you right. But let's talk about the hard times. Long before your company became a household name, you hit a wall where everything nearly collapsed. Take us back to that first major failure. What went wrong, and how did you find the willpower to restart?
In the early days, before credit cards were common, breaking into the prestigious department stores was everything. But the doors were firmly shut. When we started, we had a tiny advertising budget of $50,000, and absolutely no advertising agency would take us on because we were too small. It felt like a total roadblock, like we were being completely squeezed out by the giants. But instead of giving up, Joseph and I pivoted completely. We took that entire budget and invested it into making samples to give away for free at fashion shows and through mailings. When I thought I couldn't go on, I forced myself to keep going. It taught me that when a door closes, you find an open window.
That is the definition of persistence. Speaking of unconventional moves, innovation often looks like madness to contemporaries. Was there a specific product, philosophy, or strategy you were utterly convinced would work, but the public initially rejected or ridiculed? How did you respond?
Oh, look no further than my creation of Youth Dew in 1953. Back then, women only wore perfume for very special, rare occasions, and they waited for men to buy it for them. I wanted to change that trend completely. I introduced Youth Dew as a bath oil that doubled as a fragrance, so women could buy it for themselves and wear it every day. At first, traditionalists in the industry thought the concept was foolish, and some European buyers wouldn't even give me a meeting. When a buyer in Paris refused to try it, I accidentally dropped a bottle of Youth Dew right on the gallery floor. As the beautiful fragrance spread through the building, customers began demanding to know what that scent was. The store had to place an order. You see, people make their luck by daring to follow their instincts.
That carpet drop is iconic. I absolutely love that story. But behind the legendary name was a human being facing immense pressure, whether from financial panics, internal betrayal, or personal doubt. How did you shoulder that burden without letting the vision splint?
The pressure was constant, Calvin. The cosmetics world is a free-for-all, where competitors rush to copy your every success. I traveled the country by train, sometimes gone for 25 weeks straight, while my family stayed behind to mix the products. I faced rejection after rejection from department store buyers who would leave me waiting outside their offices all day long. I shouldered that burden by remaining entirely focused and steady. I didn't allow myself to hold on to anger or burn bridges. I kept a picture of success in my mind, because I knew if you spend time with pictures of failure, you will only orchestrate failure.
You kept your eyes on the prize. Let's talk about the people who helped you get there. Who were the very first people, beyond your immediate family, to buy into what you were doing? How did you convince early workers or customers to trust an entirely unproven concept?
My very first true believers were the women in the New York beauty parlors who let me apply the creams while they were trapped under the hair dryers. But on a grander scale, it was the wealthy social connections I cultivated in places like Miami and New York, and eventually figures like the Duchess of Windsor and Princess Grace. To convince early store managers and sales staff, I didn't just send them products. I opened the Estée Lauder counter at each new store in person. I worked alongside the salesgirls, taught them how to evaluate skin, how to touch the customer's hands, and how to project confidence. I showed them that being thoughtful and giving credit where it was due was the only way to build loyalty.
Lead by example. So, when did the tipping point happen?
Can you take us to the exact moment where you felt the momentum shift? What was the specific milestone, contract, or breakthrough where you realized, we aren't just going to survive, we are going to change everything?
The real shift happened in 1947 and 1948. I had given away 80 of our lipsticks in beautiful, scarce metal containers at a charity event at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. The wealthy women there went absolutely wild for them. Shortly after, I finally secured our first major department store order from Saks Fifth Avenue for $800 worth of products. We sold out the entire inventory in just 2 days. When I saw the affluent crowds mobbing the counter, demanding Estée Lauder, I knew in my heart that we had arrived. We weren't just a kitchen operation anymore. We were a force to be reckoned with.
Saks Fifth Avenue, that is huge. And you didn't just build a company, you built a distinct culture and philosophy that outlasted you. In the early days, when it was just a handful of people in a room, how did you instill that standard of excellence or service?
I instilled it by being a perfectionist about every single detail. I chose a specific pale turquoise color for our jars because I personally tested it against countless wallpapers to ensure it would look luxurious in a woman's bathroom. When it came to our beauty advisors, I taught them that they had to be ready to give high-touch, personalized service. I created a gift with purchase concept, giving a free sample with a buy to show our customers how much we valued them. I taught my small team that our business was built on the kitchen table intimacy of personal relationships, not just cold transactions.
It's all in the details. Now, history books often flatten a person's life into a neat, polished narrative. What is the biggest misconception people have about your journey, your character, or how your company was actually built?
People often look at the glamorous photos, the high society parties, and the international success, and think it all came down to a stroke of luck or a charmed life. That is the greatest myth. I didn't get there by wishing for it or hoping for it, but by working for it. My success is based entirely on persistence, dedication, and long hours of standing on my feet at cosmetic counters, rubbing cream onto the hands of strangers. It was built on grit, not just glamour.
Amen to that. Building an empire always requires a steep personal cost. Looking back at the entirety of your life, what was the hardest sacrifice you had to make for the sake of your vision, and was it ultimately worth it?
The hardest sacrifice was undoubtedly the toll the early, relentless pace took on my personal life, and the time spent away from my loved ones during those grueling weeks on the road. Balancing the intense hunger of ambition with the serenity of a quiet family life is the ultimate entrepreneurial tightrope. Joseph and I even divorced in 1939 before realizing our true bond and remarrying in 1942 to build this dream together. In the end, seeing the joy and confidence our products brought to millions of women made the journey worth every ounce of effort. I tried my best not to sacrifice the core of who I was for success.
Such powerful reflection. If you could send a single sentence back through time to yourself on the very first day you started this venture, knowing every trial, triumph, and heartbreak that awaited you, what would you say?
I would tell my younger self, first comes the shy wish, then the dream. But success only comes to those who stay strong, focused, steady, and dare to act on those dreams.
Estée, do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before signing off?
I just want to remind everyone listening that beauty is an attitude. There is no secret to it. Trust your instincts, work hard for your dreams, and never let anyone tell you your goals are out of reach. Thank you so much for having me on the show today, Calvin. It has been an absolute privilege.
The privilege was all ours, Estée. Thank you for sharing your incredible wisdom with us. Wow, what an amazing look at the grit and glamour behind a true global empire. Estée Lauder reminded us today that success isn't handed to you. It's earned through relentless persistence, a personal touch, and unwavering belief in your vision. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast, Founder Stories. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.